Something about this NFL season feels a little bit different. As we're still in preseason, getting ready for week 1 of the NFL season, things are feeling a little bit different than usual. Teams are feeling more balanced. It feels like a lot of teams got a lot better this last offseason, and overall, it's something we're really not used to. These divisions are all looking somewhat more competitive, but there is one division that will look more competitive this year, and I think they'll be super fun to watch. They're usually considered one of the best divisions in the league, but this year I think they can do something that has never been done before and is super low possibility, but I think it could happen, and that is all 4 teams making the playoffs. Like I said, the chances are super low, but it's still technically possible. With a lot of math and calculations and all that, it can happen. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it and go over why the AFC North will be the most competitive division in football. If this is your guys' first time on the channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. My name is Noah. Let's talk about some football. First up, we're going to talk about the Ravens. I got some notes in front of me. I got a lot of notes in front of me. I feel like Skip Bayless. Let's talk about the Ravens. New addition, Derrick Henry. He's going to be a super huge step up from what they previously had in the run game. He's going to make a huge impact. Originally, I thought, okay, he's not going to make an impact. They don't need him. They have a very good team. They don't need a Derrick Henry. But when you look back and really go into the film room, if you take a look back at the Chiefs and Ravens AFC Championship game, you can clearly see that Derrick Henry would have been a serious help back then because the run game was really never fully established and it really was not too dominant. They relied on Lamar Jackson. He did make a major mistake at the end with throwing that ball on second down into triple coverage for whatever reason. I've gone over this a million times on my channel. I pick that play apart and I tear him up for that play every time. Pause. I think Derrick Henry in that game would have significantly changed the outcome and we could have had different Super Bowl champions last year if they had a better run game. Now, with that being said, their offense besides Derrick Henry is obviously very good. They have a lot of star power on the team. Looking at this depth chart, it's clear that they have a lot of power in Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Mark Andrews, and let me just throw this in right now. Isaiah Likely is a very good young tight end too. And overall on offense, they're looking very good. Let's talk about defense. Defense, they're also looking very good. Last year, they had the #1 pass defense in the league with the 5.9 yards per attempt, but their run defense was struggling a bit, giving up 4.5 yards a carry, which was 25th in the league, and 109.4 yards a game, which was 14th in the league. Now, the second stat is not too bad, but you don't want to be 25th in the league for 4.5 yards a carry. If you're consistently giving up 4.5 yards a run, that's really not good. You'll get run on your whole game, and they will really just run all over you. Hopefully, the Ravens can step it up this season and kind of lower those numbers a little bit. To summarize, I think the Ravens are going to have another super good year, and they are going to be Super Bowl contenders once again. Now, let's move on to the next team, the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, what is the main thing with the Bengals right now? Now, obviously, Joe Burrow is coming back from a season-ending injury. They did struggle at quarterback play last season, although Jamar Chase was still balling out. They didn't have a good quarterback. They were able to win games and really not do as bad as everyone thought they were, but overall, they need Joe Burrow. They did get tight end Mike Gesicki from New England. They signed Irv Smith Jr. to replace Hayden Hurst in 2023, and that did not pan out, so I think Gesicki will be a nice addition to the depth chart. As you can see, even without Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase still put up over 1,000 yards, which is really impressive. Let's look at the quarterback play right here. 70% completion, 1930 yards. Honestly, is not too bad, but still, do you think Jake Browning has potential to be a starting quarterback? Obviously not. Obviously, they lost Joe Mixon. He is now a Houston Texan, so they're going to have to adapt to that. Joe Mixon is not the best running back. He's very replaceable. We're now be going to looking at Zach Moss as a starter. I believe Jamar Chase is still waiting for his contract extension, but I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. They've given up 8.1 yards per pass attempt while only getting 6.9. So overall, the defense definitely needs to step up. Do I think these guys will still be contenders for the Super Bowl? I still do, 100%, of course. Overall, I don't have too much to say about this Bengals team. Just know they're going to be just as good as they have been in the last few years, maybe even better. We'll see. That defense does worry me a little bit, but we'll see how they adapt. Next up, we got the Steelers. Now, the Steelers are very interesting. Russell Wilson has just been named the quarterback. He signed this offseason. Justin Fields also signed this offseason, but from what I've seen recently, Justin Fields is looking terrible, and I can no longer defend the guy. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are a really good running back duo. Jalen Warren is entering his 3rd year with 784 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5.3 yards per carry last season, alongside Najee Harris with 1,035 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 4.1 yards a carry. That is pretty good for a running back duo, if you ask me. The receiver room is looking very good for them as well, led by George Pickens. I think George Pickens will have a breakout season. He did put up 1,140 yards last season with virtually no quarterback. Now, you might say, oh, he has no quarterback now. Listen, Russell Wilson is not in his prime. but I don't think he's fully washed. I don't think he's fully cooked just yet. He still has some juice. He still has some power in the tank, and I think we're going to see a good year from Russ. Maybe he'll warm up and do some more high knees before these games. Maybe more high knees than he did with the Broncos. I think that's maybe the issue. Maybe he didn't do enough high knees on the plane with the Broncos. Hopefully he does more this season. Russell Wilson should be happy because there is a rookie named Zach Frazier who is a center, and he is already looking very good in practice and preseason. He's been looking solid in pass protection and has gave up 0 pressures and 42 opportunities for an 80.7 pass block grade. That is very good for the Steelers and their offensive line. Now let's get into a little more of their Steelers offense. Is looking like it has a lot of potential, but let's talk about their defense because their defense is also very interesting. Now, Steelers defense is good, but it can improve. They were 21st yards per game, 21st in third downs, 4.3 yards a carry, which was 21st in the league, 115.1 rush yards a game, which was 19th in the league. Now, honestly, these numbers are really not the best, and that's where Patrick Queen comes into play. He is new to the squad. He is a former Raven. He is literally a division rival for the Steelers, and honestly, this was a big move for the Steelers. I really love this move. Patrick Queen has been very effective for the Ravens. He's one of those guys that's all over the place. He had 133 tackles in 2023, and now he joined Steelers 2023 tackle leader Landon Roberts, who had 101 tackles in 16 games. Also, this guy all the way down here in the depth chart, Cole Holcomb, is actually really good. He is a monster, but he needs to stay healthy. In only 8 games, he had 54 tackles and 2 forced fumbles, which is very impressive, and a lot of people do not know about this guy. Cameron Hayward obviously needs to be a little bit more impactful this season. He had only 33 tackles and 2 sacks last season. He was really not as big as an impact as they were hoping, but they have TJ Watt, who honestly should have been defensive player of the year. He was a little bit snubbed, but he's a sack leader for the 3rd time in 4 seasons. He got 19 sacks, leading the NFL, 36 quarterback hits, which is also most in the NFL. And overall, he's a production machine. Steelers, I feel like, have a lot of potential. Their defense is looking like it can be even better this season, and honestly, if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm very excited. It's going to be a fresh new team. George Pickens, I feel like, is going to have his best year yet. Russell Wilson is going to come back to life. TJ Watt's going to stay on a rampage, and overall, Steelers fans, you guys have a lot to look forward to. Now we are moving on to the final team in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns. Now this team is very interesting to me, and the reason they're interesting to me is because every time they have the expectations set on them, they kind of shit the bed. Anytime they're expected to do nothing, they end up being really good and end up being competitors. You guys remember Joe Flacco led them last year. They made a really good push. So Joe Flacco did somehow take the Browns to the playoffs last season, and they got blown out by the Texans, because obviously the Texans are a much better team. But this year, I think the Browns are going to surprise a lot of people, and here is why. So number one reason that we're going to look forward to the Browns is obviously Deshaun Watson is back. He had last season, before going out with injury, he had a 5-1 record, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and then he ultimately went out. Elijah Moore did have his best season last year with 644 yards. Jerry Jeudy's new to the squad. He has lots of upside. They are waiting for Nick Chubb to return off that terrible injury he did have. Nobody knows the timetable for when he will be back, but he is expected sometime back in this season. David Njoku is a Pro Bowl tight end. Last season, he had 882 yards, 6 touchdowns, and that was on 81 receptions. Amari Cooper also had an amazing season, 1,250 yards, 5 touchdowns off of 72 receptions. Although they do have a little bit to improve on, they did rank 16th in yards per game. They ranked 15th in the red zone, and they ranked 29th on third down. They had 37 turnovers, which was the most in the NFL. Granted, those were from backups that were playing while Deshaun Watson was out, but now they have Jameis Winston at backup, and I don't think that will be a problem if for whatever reason they have issues at quarterback again. I think it'll be a little bit cleaner this time around. Now, I know I kind of just spat a lot of stats and numbers and everything like that out at you guys, but let's kind of put that all into a little bit of context here. Realistically, what can we look forward to this season? Because stats and all that is only a small part of the story. This time though, I think these stats are going to be very indicative of what we're going to watch. I think everything we are seeing on paper will translate over to the field, and in turn we're going to have 4 teams that are going to be very energetic and somewhat powerful. Obviously the range is going to be a little bit different. The Browns aren't going to be as powerful as the Ravens, but they can still come out firing and still be a monstrous team. Now keep in mind guys, just because these players have big names, they can still not perform. Anyone can lay an egg at any given time. Just because your name is Lamar Jackson doesn't mean you're going to put up an MVP season. Just keep that in mind. I'm not going anywhere with that, but I just want you guys to keep that in mind. Now personally, I think this could be the first year all 4 of these guys make the playoffs. That's never been done before, where all 4 teams of a division make the playoffs. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and be sure to leave a like. If you guys want more content, go ahead and subscribe. And other than that, my name is Noah and I'm out. Later.